with us this morning, so I'll call roll and make sure that we can proceed to call to order the meeting. I don't know if Mr. Bowman's having any issues, but I'll text him real quick just to see, and
Okay.
we can go from there. So I'm sorry, I normally don't do this. I can't remember if I do roll before we call to order, or we call to order and then do roll. Mac or
We call to order and then we do roll.
okay, all right. So go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I'll call the meeting of the Executive Finance Committee for the St. Louis County WIB Board to order today on May the 3rd, 2024. Greg, would you please take roll?
Yes, Jason Archer,
Present.
Vanessa Parker Lewis,
Present.
John Bowman. John Bowman doesn't look like he's here. I just did get a text from him saying he's trying to log in, so I think we can proceed because we have two of the three members. But John will hopefully be able to log in shortly. I'll remind him that he has a panelist password he needs to use. Okay, so go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Okay, great, thanks. And I'm sorry, I'm on one screen, so I'm going to try to see what our next order of business is. The Director of Human Services, Howard, had a conflict this morning, so we know about that. Board Chair remarks today. I'll keep them brief. Thanks for jumping on. And Vanessa, your dissertation sounds extremely interesting. So how's that for Board Chair remarks? You go. That's the official record. That's the official record. Vanessa Parker Lewis, very smart. And Greg, you want to go ahead and
Sure. I'll go ahead with my remarks.
Yeah, thanks.
So again, Director Howard Hayes gives his remarks, gives his appreciation to all of you for making the time today and your continued work on our Executive Finance Committee. He's at a breakfast this morning and wishes he could attend, but we'll be sure to update him if there's anything that needs his attention. But he just expresses his appreciation to all of you for the hard work you put into the workforce development efforts. We haven't had much time pass between the last meeting. The last meeting was in early April, so really hasn't been much time at all since we last convened our board. One thing that has happened that I'll just update you on quickly is that St. Louis County Workforce Development did receive an award from the Construction Forum, which, if you're not familiar with the Construction Forum, they're an intermediary that brings together training providers, contractors, employers that focus or that are really concentrated in the construction industry, and they're a convener in that space. And they oftentimes release regular reports, or they bring thought leaders together to discuss key issues to address what's going on in the construction and skilled trades. And they also promote career pathways, especially for youth and adults in the community, to support stable jobs, good paying jobs in those career pathways. So one thing I'll say is that, we yesterday attended an event and received an award called, it's the Building Tomorrow Award. There are other awardees. I'm showing you the nice little trophy, I guess you'd call it, but it's really a block essentially that we're going to keep down here in the job center. But it is to recognize the county's efforts in workforce development to bring people together using our ability and our job center and our convening capabilities to bring people together to support career pathway opportunities in the skilled trades and ultimately good jobs in the construction industry. And so we hosted, you might remember, we've previously updated the board that we've hosted a couple of events in partnership with the Construction Forum, hiring events. Those drew over 200 individuals, and those were held last year as well as the year before. So we've had an ongoing partnership with the Construction Forum. And in this case, we're just being recognized for that work in partnership with them of creating resources for the community, of creating opportunities for the community to learn about career pathways in the skilled trades. And so it was fun to see an award recognizing that hard work. And really that work of hosting those convenings is being driven by our business services team, which is led by Derek Collins and his team, Brandon Bryant and Harold Ryan Pierce. Harold Ryan Pierce joined us a couple of years ago, and he's the one that's really been serving as our liaison between the construction forum and us, and he's really put a lot of effort into that partnership. So none of them are on the call today, but just want the committee members to know the staff are doing a good job, and we're getting accolades for it. So I think that's been shared through some social media so far, but otherwise we'll be probably doing some more stories about that, and I'll be making sure we update the board about that recognition at our next scheduled meeting. And outside of that, I'll just say that at our next scheduled meeting, we also intend to give a status update on our performance of our subcontractors. I know that was quite the robust discussion last meeting, and I'm sure members want to know, what progress we may have seen since that last discussion. And so we'll give an update, and then we will also be voting on our local plan, which I'll discuss more about in the new business section on this agenda today. Any questions about that report? I know it was brief today.
When is our next meeting, and are we going to do it virtually? Did we decide, or are we going to have a dual option? What was our?
Yeah, the next scheduled meeting that was voted on by the board at the last meeting is for, I believe it's May 24th at 8 a.m. That should be what it is. But you'll receive an invite for that. And my view is that we should do this in person. I think moving forward, we can do a couple meetings a year virtually and then a couple meetings in person. But I've heard a lot of members just in various outside conversations, they'll say, hey, when are we going to get together again in person? Because I think there's some missing of that time to be able to engage. We'll have to look at what capabilities we have for maybe a phone-in capability. I have to consult our bylaws too, because we did update our bylaws with some provisions related to how to use technology for conducting business. So I just want to make sure that, when we have the meeting, if there is a way that we can allow participation of other board members through telephonic or virtual means while we're in the session, that we can do that. But we would try to get a room where we were able to do video conferencing if that's allowable, again, based on our bylaws that we recently revised in the last couple of years. So I'll consult Mac. I'm writing this down as something to look into to make sure that
it's more complex than just doing. I get it. So I just thought I'd ask. I
just happen to remember that we had to make a provision related to that, and I don't remember off the top of my head what it actually states. So we'll make sure that we follow that. We'll consult that. But I would like to propose that we have it in person, and we'll send out the invite and the notification to have it be in person. If we see that that's a major issue based on the initial Outlook invite that we send out, then we can adjust. But I would like to see us get together if we could.
Okay.
I think, we could never underestimate the value of human connection, with getting together.
Mhm.
While this actually serves me quite well, believe it or not, virtually, there is value in getting together. Routinely, it really is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you for the report and the update. Do you want to do the financial report?
Yes. So let me pull that up for you all. Let's see. Okay. Hopefully it's big enough for you to be able to see. I could probably zoom in, but you can also zoom in, I believe. So can you see it first of all? Jason, can you see it?
Yep, I see it.
Okay, great. So again, this is just our standard expenditure reports. This is an internal report that we generate for these meetings. You'll see our WIOA adult, youth, and dislocated worker programs listed here. the start date of the grant funding and the end date of the grant funding. So what we are focused on really for this meeting is just looking at where we stand with our funds that expire in 2024, in June of 2024. Now, it's a little bit complicated, this report. We're going to have to update because you'll see that there's some expenditure PY23 funds that are showing, even though technically all funds from PY22 need to be expended first. That's just an issue of reporting within our internal system. This has not been reported to the state this way. So when we make sure that we submit our financial reports to the state, that'll be corrected. But if you just look at the numbers, if you look at the adult program, we're 100% expended, so we're not really concerned about that. The youth funding is significantly higher than it was, I believe, at the last meeting that we presented. And you'll see again that we've spent $223,000 of PY23 money, so that would be added to the $691,453 that you see for the PY22 youth. So when we adjust, when we make the corrections in the system, in our financial system, it'll reflect, it'll be much closer towards 100%, but we're still, that's our biggest area of concern, I'd say, is the youth spending. We do have 2 youth providers, as you all know, In the Door and Employment Connection, and we have a push for some summer employment opportunities and work experience that we think will be able to help us expend those funds completely by the time that we need to. The other thing is that as these contractors are working with us, they're submitting invoices regularly. So there will be invoices for April that haven't been paid yet, May that will need to be paid, as well as June, which should help us close that gap. But that's the area that we're working with our subcontractors on and paying most close attention to. Our dislocated worker funds, the PY22 funds that you see, it shows 85%. Roughly, or 86% if we round up. Again, if you add an additional 105 to that, we'll be very close to fully expending those PY22 funds. The 105 I'm referring to is listed in the PY23 currently. So again, we need to adjust, we need to move these numbers from PY23 up into PY22 and make sure that they're all reported as PY22 funds, so that when we start expending PY23, it's after we fully expended the PY22. I think we have Allison Brown and Robert Smith on the call. Is there any other detail that needs to be provided there to explain, how we're making these adjustments? Maybe Robert, if you have any thoughts on that for the committee members.
We've submitted 3 journal entries to reallocate those costs that were applied to the wrong portion of the purchase order that we have already been issued, to make sure those funds were drawn from the correct GL string. So yeah, these numbers will be slightly different when we have our meeting later on this month, and I will submit an updated spreadsheet showing those changes.
Yep. Okay. Are there any questions about the report or any concerns about the spending levels?
That's the full report, because I do have a question. Then
Yeah.
if you're running. So my question is, so now we have the 2 new sub-recipients, right? The In the Door, the Employment Connection for our youth. How are they doing? How are they doing compared to historic for their staffing? I think that the issues with some of the sub-recipients before were staffing issues on their end. And I'm just wondering, how's that doing?
Yeah, In the Door has been fully staffed since they've really only taken over work essentially at the start of 2024. So in January, roughly. I guess they started recruiting at the end of last year. And so they've had a full staff in place probably since February. This is just going off my memory, but only a few months now. But they've had stable staff. It's just a lot of their efforts have really been getting oriented to WIOA, doing some trainings that are needed to make sure that they know how to use the case management system and know how St. Louis County's policies work. So really, there's been limited enrollments. I believe they recently had a session last week where they had a number of youth come out and they started doing enrollments. So as we see enrollments occurring, we'll see spending occurring on those participants. In the case of Employment Connections had a pretty stable staff generally, but in recent months, they've actually had a number of staff need to go on leave. So they're still employed by Employment Connection, but they're not currently, in some cases, they may not be working full time for a couple of reasons that are personnel related. But I'll just say that, so I would say that in some ways they might be a little bit understaffed at the moment. But they're working to try to make sure that they account for any missed time on the part of some of the staff. And they also have a pretty stable in-school youth program. I think the 2 staff members that work on that program have been working on that program consistently for the last months, and so they've remained in place, and they've been getting out to our schools locally and sharing opportunities around work experience participation, things like that. But it is staffing turnover issues are always a concern, but I've not been told of any new resignations or departures of staff. So I just was saying that there's some staff that maybe have had to take some leave for a period of time that may have some impact on the program, but we don't really know what that will fully look like yet.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
And I just want to note too for everyone that Mr. Bowman says he's joined. He's the caller. I think there's a call-in user 4 maybe in the attendee list. So if Barry, you can help us move Mr. Bowman to panelist, but he's a call-in user.
I went ahead and promoted him to a panelist there, sir.
Okay, great. So Mr. Bowman, hopefully you can speak if you have any questions or comments about the report. I don't hear him saying anything. I'm not sure if that means he has no comments or if he's not able to, but Mr. Bowman, are you with us? Okay, I don't know, Barry, if there's just an issue with his phone or what. I'm not sure.
It's hard to say. Showing up as mute, I requested him on mute, but I have not seen any response back from that.
Okay, I know he can hear us because of his text, so. All right. Well, outside of that, I reduced the report, but anything else on that expenditure report, I can bring it back up if needed.
Okay. If he makes it in and can unmute and ask questions, I guess, it's committee, we can back up. But I think the next item of business, and before we introduce it, I want to make sure that I'm correct. It's you're going to discuss with us the local plan, but we don't vote on it in committee, do we? Or
No, we're not voting. No, we're not.
Okay.
No. But it is a vote
So-
required for the board. It is a vote required for the board. And so, I'm just going to preview it today and discuss a little bit about our local, we've discussed our local plan before, but I'll just remind the committee members what that is and then talk about the need to take a vote.
Okay.
Okay, John says he can hear, but he's unable to unmute for some reason. He has no questions at this time. So the local plan, you might remember every year we do, every 4 years we do our local plan. Every 2 years we can do a modification, or we often do a modification to our local plan. And in between those periods, if there's significant changes based on our policy issuance that need to be updated within our local plan, we have to notify the Office of Workforce Development. But the local plan is essentially our document that captures our goals, our vision, our mission, our strategy for the board. And so it captures kind of in the front part of it, really captures vision, mission, purpose, and then captures the strategic priorities. A lot of the document itself, though, is actually policies that the board agrees to implement or follow that realizes more or less the core requirements of WIOA in administering our workforce development programs. So the document is pretty hefty. Vanessa, I would venture to say that it would probably be twice or maybe twice the length of a dissertation. I'm not really sure how long a dissertation typically is, but it can be, probably close to 200 pages altogether. Um,
That is, well, I've written 200 so far, and I've
Oh,
only got
okay.
two
Oh,
chapters.
well, then again, so you're,
But
so,
usually
yeah.
it is usually between 200 and 300 pages. So.
Mm. So then we'll be right along probably that line of 200 or so. So, you've been writing, but the reading of this plan is a significant task. And so we don't expect board members to have a full expertise around some of the technical policy issues, but certainly want to make sure that all board members have a chance to review and offer questions and offer comments of that local plan. And so prior to the meeting, we'll be sure to submit the draft of the local plan for review to board members so that they have sufficient time. And we're not sending, a day before, talking only about at the meeting, because we want to make sure that this vote is one that members feel confident about in terms of supporting the mission, vision, and strategy of the board. But I would say, in particular, I am curious about board members' views around our mission statement, our vision for the board. I know that we've discussed a lot of ideas on these calls as well as board meetings about what this board really needs to be. And so this is a document where we have an opportunity to really flesh that out. So I'll say that there's also a requirement that this local plan be public notice. So we are public notice. We're putting this out for public comment in the process of doing that. And that will make sure that it's posted digitally as well as announced at our next board meeting as well. But it'll allow the public the opportunity to comment in addition to board members. So if we receive comments from the public, remember our public workforce, this is our public workforce system. So the public has not only a right to review this document and offer input, but we want to encourage that because we want this plan to really best reflect the needs of county residents. So that being said, you'll have a chance to formally comment if you want to do that through the public comment portal, or we can capture feedback prior to the full board meeting that we have in the end of the month that we just discussed. So again, that was just kind of an overview. I just wanted to note that that's going to be a business voting item at the next meeting. Are there any comments about or questions about the local plan or about the process?
Yes, I have some.
Okay.
So, and you don't have to answer now, but Mac is on here as well. So is it appropriate to send the plan to the board members in an email or something like that so that we have it, or a link? Because this is so, or notify us that it's posted publicly. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. So that it's long and the board members, right, don't get hit 2 or 3 days before the meeting or a week before. Like, they have a chance to kind of review it at their leisure if they want or if they choose to. Somehow I'm asking for that, some sort of, so the board members all know. Maybe
Yeah,
what
and
is, you know, what it is.
Jason, that information could be provided to you. It would just be, we want to make sure that any sort of discussion takes place during our next meeting. And so basically you can absolutely review it, but any sort of ideas that any of the members have should be discussed during our next meeting at the end of May, and not via another sort of avenue.
Okay. And maybe that's even said in the email, review it, and discussions will be held publicly, right? Yeah. Thanks, Mac. Yeah. Understood. That's really the only question that I think I have. I don't know if John or Vanessa have other questions as well, but thank you.
No, I don't have any other questions. Thanks.
I don't see any comments from John. He says no questions. I guess he can't, yeah, because he's called and he can't use the chat on this. Okay, well, sounds good. No questions from Vanessa or John. So with that, I'll just turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair. Is there any, I don't know if there's any other new business items that committee members have that we don't have on the agenda or that we need to consider for the board meeting perhaps, but that's really essentially the meeting for today.
Okay, I do have a question that I believe is unrelated though. So Mavis called and said there was a document that required my signature.
Mm-hmm.
And I was next in line, or maybe it was three people ahead of me. I'm sorry, I had stepped out of a meeting in order to take her call. I have yet to receive that. So
Okay, I'll check with her on that. I know what that is. That's the attestation document that's required.
yes,
So
it was at a station. Thank you.
I'll check in with her and find out what's
What's the holdup or what?
yeah, it may be because we're going through using Adobe Sign, so there may be someone in queue before you that hasn't signed it yet. She's provided notice for folks to be on the lookout for it, but it's dependent on each person signing and then moving it forward.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, good deal. I didn't want to be a holdup. I've been looking for it, but and even spam, but I haven't seen anything yet. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll let her know that you haven't seen it yet, and I'll find out where you are in the queue.
okay, perfect. Is there a deadline for that?
We will submit it probably with the local plan when we do our final submission, so we have time, to complete that in the next couple weeks.
Oh, okay. Cool,
Mm-hmm.
cool. I have one more thing that's unrelated that I'd like to share. In that I was selected for HR honoree award by the St. Louis Business Journal. So I'm pretty
That's
excited
great.
about it.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well, we should celebrate that within the county too. Maybe if you can send me some information, maybe we can put out on our DHS page, note that you're a board member, but that you're also being recognized.
Yes, I can certainly do that. And it's going to be an awards luncheon, and that's May 16th. So, yep, I'm
Oh,
excited about it.
congratulations, though. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
We know your leadership and value everything you bring to this committee, but it's good to know that the broader community is recognizing that too.
Yes, well, I'm excited. I am excited. Thank you so much. Thank you. But yes, I'll send it to you. It's been pretty popular on LinkedIn. I'm not sure how much, the county engages in social media. That's one of my things I've been kind of asking you all about.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, but I can send it to you.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Great. Mr. Bo, congratulations as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? If not, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Chair, for adjournment, if there's no other items to discuss or questions.
I do not. Vanessa or John?
Nothing on my end.
Nope.
All
John
right.
says no.
Then thank you very much, everyone on here, for taking their time, getting on this morning, and whether you serve on the board for us three or you service us, thank you so much for your time and efforts and helping make this a good system for people. So thanks. And I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
And I'll second it. I guess I can do that.
You can second a motion as well.
As I can. Thanks, Mac. So I'll second it. And all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Are there any opposed?
I think we're good. No, I think we're good.
And Mac wants to make sure. And any abstentions? I think none. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
You all have a great day.
Thank you all. Have a good
Have a
weekend.
great weekend.
Great
And
day.
congratulations, Vanessa.
Great weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.